Now at 6:30, winter weather is on its way to Southeast Ohio. The latest on how much snow is in the forecast and how you can stay safe.
Plus, if you use the service, then you're the one responsible for that bill.
An Ohio House bill attempts to crack down on renters who don't pay their utility bills, how it could affect what you pay.
And in sports, Ohio Athletics prepares for 2 primetime games. Newswatch starts right now. Good evening and thanks for joining us. I'm Alex and Wally.
And I'm Allison Patton. Southeast Ohio is preparing for what could be the first major freeze of the year.
Yep, and for more, we turn to our forecaster, Lexi Bopalsi. Lexi, how big of a temperature drop are we going to see? And it's on everyone's minds. Are we going to see any snow?
Yeah, we actually already had our drop in temperatures today. We actually dropped about 18 degrees in 30 minutes. And in that time, we also recorded a 36.5 mile per hour wind gust. So that was a pretty interesting 30 minutes, I will say. Now, over the last 24 hours, you see this cold front start moving through our area, and I understand this graphic's a little bit of a headache, so let's clean that up a bit and have that little bit of a more stagnant view. Now, we had that cold front make its way through our area, and you can see our precipitation here. Now let's take a little bit better of a look, and we can see what's going on tonight into tomorrow. Now tonight, our hazards mainly rain. That's really all we're going to see tonight. Maybe still some slick roads with some wet leaves. Do be aware of that. But the big thing I'm worried about is tomorrow morning, right when it's about your morning commute, about 8 a.m., we're going to start seeing some snow showers. Please be aware of that, and we are going to start seeing more going into our afternoon, but we'll get more into that in my full later on in the broadcast. But currently, it is 41 degrees with partly cloudy skies and winds from our west at about 8 miles per hour. And today it was partly sunny skies and a high of 62. Unfortunately, we didn't get to have it for very long, but we're going to have a low of 32 tonight. Tonight, that low of 32, 20% chance of showers, and tomorrow's sunrise at 7:18 a.m. And I do want to again say be careful driving tomorrow morning, especially because we are dropping below that, around that freezing line, possibly even below. So be aware of slick roads and maybe possibly icy conditions. We'll take it back to Alex and Allison at the desk.
Thanks, Lexi. Tomorrow's winter weather comes as many people prepare to travel for the holidays.
So to help, officials are reminding people of how to stay safe on the road and at home. Officials recommend that you make a plan in case of any severe weather. They also say it's important to have an emergency kit ready in case of a power outage or if you need to leave your home quickly. The National Weather Service says it's important to also have an emergency kit in your vehicle in the case that you get stranded.
The Weather Service says the first snowfall of the year can create hazardous conditions. They ask drivers to take it slow and leave enough space between you and the vehicle in front of you.
The Athena Grand, located along East State Street in Athens, announced it will be permanently closing its doors. The Athens movie theater opened back in 2004, and in a press release, the theater says it will be open through the holiday season, but it will have its final movie on January 5th. With this year's election behind us, the political landscape is shifting to focus on 2025 and 2026, especially in the race to replace Governor Mike DeWine. And 2 big contenders seem to be hinting at a potential bid for the position. Dave Yost teased a potential race for the governor's mansion in this video. The video, posted on multiple social media platforms, shows Yost walking through the State House and stopping in front of the governor's office. Lieutenant Governor John Husted, who previously ran for governor in 2018, has not publicly announced plans to run, but has already tucked away $5 million for a run, according to campaign finance reports. The position of governor and multiple other statewide offices will be up in 2026.
Central Ohio leaders come together to help meet the growing demand for housing in the region. Officials say more than 200,000 homes need to be built in Central Ohio over the next 10 years. The new Regional Housing Coalition aims to build an additional 80,000 affordable homes to help meet that number. The goal is to try and get the region ready for more population growth and to promote diverse housing options. You now have to make a 6-figure salary to afford a new home in most U.S. cities. That's according to a new report by Oxford Economics. The report says if you're in the market for a new house, you'll need to earn roughly $108,000 a year. That's nearly double the household income needed to afford a home 5 years ago. It's also much higher than the average U.S. wage, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Experts say higher prices, higher property taxes, and an increase in insurance costs are all contributing to affordability.
A generation ago, Americans could buy homes in their late 20s, early 30s. Now it's really more like late 30s for a lot of Americans.
Economists say next year will hopefully be a better condition for buyers as housing stock increases across the country. Athens residents could see an increase in their utility bills next year. That's all because of a bill working its way through the state legislature that could cost you more money. Brandon Schlichter has about 100 properties he rents out in Circleville, Ohio. He's had his ups and downs of being a landlord.
Over the course of the last 10 years, I've probably paid $25,000, $35,000 in tenant utility bills that I ultimately didn't feel responsible for.
He makes a living off his properties and a couple of businesses. When tenants don't pay their municipal utility bills, Schlichter gets the tap.
$750 water bill. I'm out 10 months worth of money that I was hoping to profit.
Municipalities are allowed to charge anyone connected to the home for a delinquent utility bill. Oftentimes, it's the property owner, not the tenant, on the hook.
If you use the service, then you're the one responsible for that bill.
Ohio House Bill 93 would require municipalities to collect payments from the tenant. Athens Deputy Service Safety Director Andrew Chicky says this would force the city to either track down the resident or find other ways to cover the loss.
Our capacity to be able to absorb potential non-payment is very, very low, which means we have to increase utilities.
But if House Bill 93 doesn't pass, landlords say they'll have to find other ways for them to recoup their losses. And it could mean increasing rent or a security deposit.
I would hate to ask for a first month's rent, security deposit, and a $500 water deposit. I think that's really going to make it difficult for people to get into housing that they need.
But Ohio Municipal League Rod Davison says issues between landlords and tenants shouldn't be hoisted on local municipalities.
We don't want to have to raise our rates so that because landlords either didn't track their tenants, didn't collect from them, weren't effective at it, weren't making enough money, whatever their problem is.
House Bill 93 still has to make it out of committee and needs a majority yes by the Senate before it can go to the governor to be signed. It needs to be signed into law before the new year.
Ohio taxpayers may have to wait a little longer for reform on state property taxes. Republican House Speaker Jason Stephens says he's not expecting a comprehensive bill to come forward this year. If the bill isn't passed by the end of the year, it will have to go back to the start of the legislative process. Stephens says lawmakers are serious about wanting to pass some relief, but says the issue is complicated. This year's free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, is now open to all students. But after last year's messy rollout of a new streamlined process, parents and students may be a little wary. Karen Kaifa has a look at what parents and students should know.
Last year's rollout of a simplified free application for federal student aid, or FAFSA, did not go according to plan.
The net effect was a frustration with the process, people abandoning the FAFSA altogether because they didn't think it was worth their time or they didn't think it would ever work.
And in some cases, glitches and delays impacted students' options as they waited for financial aid offers. Before last year, the FAFSA form traditionally opened to all students on October 1st. But the Department of Education made a phased release of the FAFSA for this year amid continued beta testing. Now the form is open to all, and students are advised to start sooner rather than later. Jill DeJean, senior policy analyst at the National Association of Student Financial Aid Administrators, says filing deadlines will vary among schools and scholarships.
Know what your deadlines are and make sure you're meeting them, but they will be different for every student depending on where they're applying to school and where they're from.
To get things going, students need an FSA ID, an account username and password for the FAFSA site, and applicants and their families should gather any tax, banking, and investment documents. Student aid experts hope the process will be more efficient and less frustrating this year.
What we're hoping to see this year is that full realization of what the FAFSA Simplification Act intended to do, which was to make this application shorter and easier to complete.
In Washington, I'm Karen Kaifa.
A new report is providing hope for some people with lung cancer in the U.S. The American Lung Association says the 5-year lung cancer survival rate increased 26% over the past 5 years. But health experts are concerned that screening rates for this disease remain low. Nationally, just 16% of those at highest risk were screened. Experts say early detection through a low-dose CT scan and can raise chances of survival. The organization hopes these findings will help expand access to testing.
Unfortunately, most states do not require insurance coverage of this testing, so that's something that we're really pushing for, each state having a requirement to cover this comprehensive biomarker testing, which again will help save lives.
The American Lung Association is also urging people to learn more about lung cancer, advocate for themselves, and talk to a doctor if they think they may be at risk of developing the disease.
This is crazy. There's trees up everywhere. There's houses destroyed.
Coming up, search efforts in the Pacific Northwest continue after a deadly winter storm. The latest on efforts as another storm takes aim at the region.
And a Georgia judge delivers a major verdict in the murder case of a University of Georgia student.
And we do have some snow in the forecast, but when is it going to hit and how much are we going to get? We'll find out more when Newswatch returns.
On Nova, building stuff.
$1 million view.
From the depths of the ocean.
A craft that allows you to explore a part of our world that you couldn't see any other way.
To outer space.
We have these goals of going to Mars. Not everyone's thinking about actually living there.
We're gonna pressurize this article until it fails.
Go time.
Here we go.
Reaching. On Nova.
Tonight at 9 on WOUB.
Xi Jinping wants to restore China to its grand estate.
The rise of the Chinese leader.
She was not afraid to say, we're not giving you the freedoms and rights.
If anyone believes that they can stop China's steady rise, is probably indulging in fantasy.
And the global implications.
He has chosen to go down the route of consolidating power, the route of nationalism.
Tuesday at 10 on WOUB.
Meet Brandon Scott, the young reformer elected mayor of Baltimore.
You cannot go anywhere in Baltimore without seeing the aftermath of gun violence. Most people do not live like this. Why must we?
Battling entrenched powers and rising violence, the measure of his success hangs in the balance. The Body Politic on POV.
Monday at 10 on WOUB.
Over 200 local newsrooms, over 3,600 journalists, a community of 300 million Americans. The NPR network is listener-supported, independent journalism in communities around the country. It amplifies more voices, more Americas, and takes all of us on new journeys. It takes all of us closer to home. It takes all of us.
At least 2 people are dead after a deadly snowstorm blanketed large parts of Washington state and Oregon.
Laura Aguirre has more as the Pacific Northwest prepares for another round of severe weather.
This is crazy. There's trees up everywhere. There's houses destroyed.
Driving snow and a slew of downed trees mark a bomb cyclone's powerful impact across parts of the Pacific Northwest overnight.
I was not expecting this snowstorm at all.
But in it came with hurricane-force winds gusting over 70 miles per hour that toppled countless trees, in many cases taking power lines with them, knocking hundreds of thousands of people off the grid. Puget Sound Energy, which services the Seattle area, says the mass outage could last multiple days. This North Seattle resident, one of the lucky ones.
I could hear it creaking, and I wasn't sure if it was falling or just like moving in the wind, and then I heard it breaking through some branches.
Many of his neighbors spent the day assessing damaged homes and vehicles. The intense winter storm also being blamed for some fatalities. One of them, a Bellevue, Washington woman who fire officials say was killed in her shower when a tree crushed her home. In the mountainous passes between Portland and Central Oregon, tire chains are a must.
Getting pretty delirious now. You know, we're on minute 37 of getting these chains on.
The wicked weather isn't over. Forecasters say the bomb cyclone essentially tapped an atmospheric river, which is expected to dump torrential rain over the region through tomorrow, with forecasters predicting Northern California could reach a rare level 4 of 4 flood risk over the next 24 hours. I'm Laura Aguirre reporting.
Forecaster Lexi Belposi joins us again with more on this system.
Lexi, these deadly conditions may be all the way across the country. Could we see any impact?
Yeah, it's a little too early to tell about impacts for us, but we can get more into that in a second. I do kind of want to make a bit of a visual of our bomb cyclone as well as that little bit of atmospheric river. So up here, that's where you see that bomb cyclone making its way through with that occluded front, which really is just a bunch of rain. We can see that a lot better with our X-rad radar once again. Now, what is an atmospheric river? Well, an atmospheric river is something that varies in size and width, but the best way I can explain it is like a river in the sky. Now, obviously you can't see it, it's water vapor, but it basically is a big thing just trapped of water vapor. And what happens when it comes over land? It absolutely dumps everywhere. Now, there's different strengths. Obviously, what we're seeing with this atmospheric river in the Pacific Northwest is a lot stronger than usual. Now, I'm just going to draw our little frontal system here so we can get a better view of like what really is going on. Now, there's going to be some heavy rainfall in our Pacific Northwest, as well as some snowfall in the higher elevation areas. But like I said, what's in it for us? Well, right now, like I said, it's a little early, but models are showing that we're going to have a bit of a rain event, possible snow event going into Friday of next week. Perfect timing right after Thanksgiving. Get into your Christmas gear, get some snow. But like I said, it's still kind of early to tell. But if that does verify, then that works out. Now, for us, really what we're looking at right now is a classic low-pressure system bringing us rain and snow. Now, like I said earlier, tonight we're not really going to be seeing much, but tomorrow morning we do expect to see some rainfall at about 8 o'clock, right when that go to work time is. Now, we are going to see a bit heavier snow more to the south of us. But we are going to see a couple waves of this snow. Now, the first one's going to come Thursday morning, while the second one's going to come more Thursday afternoon as you're leaving work. So please do be cautious when you are on the roads going into tomorrow. Now, currently here it is 41 degrees with partly cloudy skies and winds from our west about 8 miles per hour. And we could play a really fun game right now. Guess the cold front. Guess when the cold front came through. Now we're starting to climb right now, but we're going to hit 62 and then immediately drop. That's when our cold front came through about this afternoon. Like I said, we dropped about 18 degrees in about 30 minutes. So it was a pretty quick move through, but it was still felt everywhere. Now today we had partly sunny skies, that high of 62 and a low tonight of 32 degrees. Again, be cautious of possible slick roads because of this, with a 20% chance of showers. Tomorrow, those snow showers with a high of 41 and a low of 28. Tomorrow we can go into those snow showers, and it's going to stick around till tomorrow night and into Friday. Now, going to our 7-day, we are going to have a bit of a cooler weekend, but we are going to start seeing a little bit more like November, but we are going to stick with those about upper 50s to low 50s going into next week. We'll take it back to Allison.
Thanks, Lexi. A judge ruled today this man, Jose Ibarra, is guilty of murdering a female student at the University of Georgia. The 26-year-old undocumented immigrant from Venezuela was in Athens, Georgia, looking for work when the murder took place. Authorities say Ibarra hit Laken Riley in the head with a rock and strangled her while she was out on a run on the university's campus.
There is no way out for him. The evidence in this case has been overwhelming, and the evidence in this case has spoken loud and clear that he is Laken Riley's killer.
The judge sentenced Ibarra to life in prison without the possibility of parole.
Staying in the courtroom, a story that moved the nation in 1994 is back in headlines. The woman who murdered her 2 sons is denied parole today, 30 years after she was convicted. Susan Smith murdered her 2 sons by strapping them in her car and letting it roll into a lake. Some still remember the 14-month-old and the 3-year-old as America's children. Smith lied when she originally claimed a man had stolen her car with the boys inside. Smith is serving a life sentence after confessing to the murders, but she was eligible for parole this year. The boy's father says Smith getting out of prison now would be an injustice.
But ultimately, to me, that's only 15 years per child. Her own children. It's just not enough.
The man who prosecuted her case says the jury didn't know she'd be eligible for parole someday. Smith can apply for parole again in 2026.
Next in sports, the Ohio volleyball team received season honors. Plus, Ohio football and basketball gear up for an action-packed night. That's all coming up after the break.
Witness one moment when television changed the world.
President Kennedy has been shot.
With eyewitness accounts, an unparalleled compilation of seldom seen footage, and revealing interviews with the reporters who made the news. It's the story of the media and the moment it changed forever. I'm Jane Coley, your host for JFK, Breaking the News.
Friday at 9 on WOUB.
In the beginning, there have always been those of us looking for stories.
This is a huge moment.
I feel like there's nothing around that can stop me.
It's your being. It's who you are.
We need to do something to make a change.
I know that there are people like me out there.
We need to have a voice.
It's what you do next that matters.
You start to discover a deeper part of yourself.
My whole world changed instantly.
On Secrets of the Dead, a royal treasure
It's really the most beautiful object I've seen.
leads archaeologists to a path of pilgrimage.
Everybody had to walk the same way we did. Kings, priests, commoners.
And a temple sitting at the foot of a holy mountain.
That pool has always been, in the Khmer history, the most venerated place.
Lost Treasures of Angkor, King's Gold, on Secrets of the Dead.
Tonight at 10 on WOUB.
It's a big night for Ohio Bobcat athletics. We have not one, but two key games at the top of the hour. And we start with Ohio football as they prepare for a critical conference battle against the Toledo Rockets. Head coach Tim Albin and his crew are on the road tonight for their sixth game away from Athens this season. Tonight's contest also marks the first clash between the Bobcats and Rockets since the 2022 MAC title game, which saw Toledo secure the trophy with a 17-7 victory. Last week, Albin emphasized the importance of his squad maintaining its focus in a hostile environment.
A huge challenge. Last time we played them, they got after us in Detroit, and it'll be should be a great game for our conference, and we're going to prepare just like we have for any other game, and try to play our best 4 quarters up there.
Bobcats are right up there in the conference standings with a 5-1 record. Their only loss came to top-seeded Miami. Ohio cannot yet clinch a spot in this year's title game with a win tonight, but will be in great position to do so before its final game against Ball State. Next week's result between Miami and third-seed Bowling Green will also be important to keep an eye on. Speaking of marquee matchups, the women's basketball team is set to host arguably its biggest game of the year with a clash against the Ohio State Buckeyes. OSU enters tonight as the 12th ranked team in the nation based on the AP poll, and they've come out of the gates on fire in 2024, winning their first 3 games of the young season. As for the Bobcats, it's an opportunity to compete with one of the top programs in the nation. Ohio comes into tonight after securing its first victory of the season against George Washington on Saturday. The Bobcats sit with a 1-2 overall record. Tip-off from the Convo is set at the top of the hour, so you might need to have a couple of TV screens to catch up on all of tonight's action. You only need one screen tomorrow, though, when the Ohio men's basketball squad face Middle Tennessee in its first of 3 games at the Myrtle Beach Invitational. The Bobcats hope to right some wrongs after a 24-point defeat to Memphis last Friday. Head coach Jeff Bowles and company sit with a 1-3 overall record. Middle Tennessee enters action at 3-1. The team started the season with 3 straight wins before falling to Murray State last weekend. Tip-off is early tomorrow with a start time of noon. But But it's never too early to talk Ohio volleyball. Despite its season coming to an end last week, Ohio got some good news earlier today. Junior Anna Harchinska and sophomore Cam Hunt earned All-MAC volleyball honors. Harchinska made the All-MAC first team with a dominant year, finishing the regular season with the most kills in the conference, while Hunt received a spot on the All-MAC second team. Today's awards mark Harchinska's third All-MAC honor and Hunt's second. Ohio finished the season with a 10-8 conference record, just missing out on this year's postseason tournament. That's all I've got today in sports. I'll send it back to Alex and Allison at the desk.
Still ahead, housekeepers put their skills to the test. Hear who took home gold at this year's Housekeeping Olympics.
For more than 70 years, WOUB Public Media has been the place where people in our region turn to learn how stories of the past ignite the imagination of the future. It's where information, entertainment, and education work together to inform, enlighten, and inspire generations. It's the place where the community gathers to hear and see our world in new and innovative ways. WOUB, the public media you trust that's worthy of your support.
WOUB is recognizing members of our Cornerstone Society. The Cornerstone Society is a group that wants to ensure the future of public media in our region. It includes people across our area who value news, entertainment, and cultural programming, as well as the educational services WOUB provides. Also included are graduates of Ohio University who took part in the WOUB Student Professional Development Program. Thanks to the Cornerstone Society for their generous support. To learn how you can be involved, email woub@woub.org.
Sherlock Holmes is the world's most famous detective. But why didn't his creator, Arthur Conan Doyle, love him as much as the rest of us do? In this series, I'm tracking down clues and evaluating the evidence to discover where creator and creation diverged. I'm hoping to open a little window into Arthur's mind.
On Masterpiece.
Margaret Schlegel monopolising my father. She always meant to get her hands on Howard's End.
You too feel lonely.
Horribly.
I've had you here on false pretenses. I am asking you to be my wife.
I won't ask for charity.
This isn't charity.
Dear Miss Schlegel, my circumstances have taken a turn.
Mr. Best, you don't pretend your marriage has been a happy one. Howard's End on Masterpiece.
Sunday at 8 on WOUB.
This was the terrifying moment that Columbus police saved a driver who had crashed his truck on Interstate 71. Police say they received a call last week from the driver saying his truck was inexplicably speeding up and wouldn't slow down. The vehicle ended up crashing into a concrete pillar and bursting into flames.
Officers were able to pull the driver out of the truck just in time before it exploded. The driver is now recovering at the hospital. Investigators are looking into what went wrong to prevent future accidents. And for many people, their dream is to be an Olympian. One adaptation of the sporting event is catching people's eyes.
That's right. A large crowd gathered in Las Vegas this week for the 34th Housekeeping Olympics. 13 teams from hotels across the country competed in the event. The challenges included a bed-making race, a mop and vacuum relay, an obstacle course on a floor cleaner, and a spirit dance competition. When all was said and done, Resort World took home the crown as the overall winner. Now, Darius, you're our sports guy. You ever think of taking up the Housekeeping Olympics beat?
You know, maybe if it comes up in a second career, but maybe not right now.
Yeah, I don't know what the college landscape of that sport looks like now. That's great. Okay, Lexi, why don't you give us one final look at this weather that we can expect from this week?
Yeah, we're going to have that bit of a cool down this weekend, but we are going to go to next week, warm up a little bit, but we are going to stay on the cooler side going into next week as well.
Yeah, and that does it for our broadcast for this evening. Thanks for watching.
Stay tuned for the PBS NewsHour coming up next. Have a great night.